to protect. And it's like everything begins and ends with the elections. So Trevor, from where I sit, I feel we're not heading in the right direction, and we need to take actions, because we say, God help us, because that is the prayer we are making every day. I'm sure my colleague here in church is praying for peace. I'm also praying for that in the mosque. But God helps those people who help themselves. Yeah, we cannot throw everything, say we are praying. Yes, we are praying, but what are we doing about it? You could be praying but doing the wrong things. Don't expect God to come and perform miracles when you don't play your part. You need to play your part. So we need to play our part to secure the future of this country.
Yeah. Dr. Makanda, what is your view? Are we heading in the right direction?
I think yes and no.
Yes and no, okay.
Yes, in the sense that our politics are becoming extremely competitive, which is a good thing for a democratic space. In terms of expression, in terms of people beginning to argue about policies, as opposed to where we were before, where people only focused on individuals and how their ethnic blocs will vote and things like that. You can now hear matters economics being discussed in our politics. You can hear matters law being discussed. You can hear one or two things here being talked about women, youth. You can hear issues about persons with disability. So in terms of competitiveness, I think, yes, we are going to the right direction, nurturing our democracy. We are not going to the right direction because largely the political parties have remained individual businesses, and the democratic space within political parties has shrunk, and you can realize that the people who are running and contesting, most of them were decided in boardrooms, and so it's political parties are not having full expression of what we desire as a country, but and perhaps the numerous numbers of independent candidates speaks to the very fact that they could not find space within the political parties, and so they have had to go out there to run as independent candidates, albeit very difficult process for them. Yeah. But I think as a country we have a lot to thank God for, the fact that we have a nation where people can go out and look for votes. And perhaps what we are not extremely confident at this time is that the levels of funding of IEBC, the levels of preparedness of the Independent Electoral Commission to deliver this election, and whether the state will interfere with the results or not, as it has been perceived in the past. If the state remains neutral in the processes of this election, I think we will carry through this process, and we will do our bit to pray for the country and to encourage our people.
So it's a mix of both yes and no.
Yes, no.
For you, I want to show you live pictures of the Safari Park where it's happening right now. The national annual prayer breakfast meeting is happening there. Parliament of Kenya is scheduled to host the 19th edition of the National Prayer Breakfast at Safari Park. President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to grace the occasion. Deputy President William Ruto is also expected there. You can see the preparations getting in place. They're theming it transitions because this is the last one before the transition government kicks in. But there are many concerns in terms of peace around the country. Also, the ethnic balkanization is also happening right now. There's a conversation around the sharing of positions as well. That is also a concern for many people there. We'll cross over to Brenda Wanga, who's standing by in Safari Park. Those are live pictures there. As soon as the event kicks in, we will cross over there for you to understand what's really going on there and to join in the prayers of the National Prayer Breakfast happening at the Safari Park. But Sheikh, you mentioned unless we do something drastic to arrest the situation, what would that be? What would you recommend? Okay, one, of course, it's good to recognize that we need God and the blessings of God to guide us. But what is it that we must do as Kenyans? Number one, we must be very sincere about what we say. I've been looking at politicians campaigning. Some of them very respectable people in this country, people who are seasoned politicians. And actually, I'm confused about the meaning of campaigns. And it's like, for me to win over people, I have to talk against you.
I have to pick out all the bad things I think about you for me to win out the people. So I think we should desist from that. Let campaigns be campaigns. Sell to the people what the ideas that you have, instead of trying to instigate people against one another. These insults, the hate speech and the rest, I think we need to desist from that. And then we need to respect the laws in the country. We need to respect the laws in the country because, Trevor, looking back at 2007, 2008, and we keep on praying that we don't go back there. We pray to God that we never see anything like that before. It is just because we do not respect the law and we do not respect institutions. If we had the respect for institution, anybody with any complaints about the election results would know that the way to go is the courts, because that is exactly where the courts, why the courts are there, why the judiciary is there, to administer justice for anybody who feel maybe they are aggrieved. So again, we need to see more and more of that respect of institutions. Yeah. And again, we need also to see people who are charged with the responsibility of ensuring there is law and order. If they could desist from showing partisan, it's like they're also joining in the fray of politics. So you wonder if this is the person who has been given the responsibility of ensuring the country is secure, the laws are followed in this country. But the person shows openly leanings towards this side of the political divide or that part of the political divide. I think this is bad because when there is a dispute, this person is not going to be a fair arbiter, a credible arbiter between the two. So people should respect the positions that they hold. And each one of us has to play their rightful role. Trevor, you are in the media. Can you play your rightful role in ensuring that the country is secure by making sure that the information that comes from here is information that is going to put the country together? As religious leaders, can we do our part? Not only praying for peace, but can we also make sure that we practice what we pray? Let the congregation that comes to my mosque see me doing exactly what I've been telling them in the mosque to do. So can each one of us play their part? Let the voters also play their part, because when there is violence, it is not the politicians who go out there throwing stones and breaking things and fighting neighbors. It is me and you, Trevor, who fight one another. Can we be above very personalized politics? So this is what I mean by, can we say as Kenyans, 2022 is the year of change. We don't want to be divided. We don't want to fight because of politics. We want to secure our country regardless of what political coalition you support and the rest. Yeah. This is what I mean by being drastic.
Yeah. Dr. Makanda, do you see some level of cognitive dissonance here, especially when it comes to respect of the rule of law? Because on one side, you're innocent until proven guilty. But on the other side, there are those who are saying that you may have been accused of something. Therefore, the perception is that you should at least clear your name before you run for office. But then the political divide is open for everyone.
I think it's the intrigues that the politicians have put us in. Yeah. Politicians are the ones who legislate. And so we have a challenge in law and a lacuna whereby they have provided that if you have been accused of whatever crime and you have been found guilty and you have not exhausted your appellate process, then perhaps you still have a right to stand. And they come out and argue. In 2013, they argued that, you know what, going to an election, the Constitution gives the sovereignty to citizens. Yeah. Kenyans have sovereignty, and if Kenyans are going to exercise their sovereignty through an election, then they have made a decision that is above a judicial process. And so we allowed people who were indicted to run for office. So it's not starting now. In 2013, His Excellency the President and Deputy were indictees at ICC. And it was crimes against humanity that they were being accused of. And so it is that very decision that was made in 2013 that is haunting us up to today. So I mean, if I have stolen a radio and this person has been accused of killing people, they have been allowed to run. So why are you stopping me from running? So it's yes, as you say, dissonance, yes. And I think it's because Kenyans have given too much leeway to politicians to make decisions for us, and perhaps to nail that mistake is that Kenyans, they seem to be helpless in the hands of people who have been accused of criminal actions, and they still run after them, they still go and vote for them, and so the problem that we are struggling with, it is we want, we don't want. We want, we don't want. I think Kenyans have got to make a decision, a clear decision, and perhaps this election is far much better because the majority of the voting population in this election is below 35. And if this group comes out and says it is time for Kenya to take the right direction, it's enough, it is possible to have change in these elections. And so we really desire that the younger people that are out there, and many of them who are struggling without jobs, many of them who are struggling because of decisions that have been made historically, that have disenfranchised communities, that have disenfranchised our people, if our young people come out and say, we want one Kenya, we do not want a Kenya that is divided. Trevor, in this country, in this Nairobi, there's a school that has 20 teachers in a primary school. In Garissa, there are schools that have one teacher. In fact, 99% of schools in Mandera, Garissa, and Wajir have one teacher. And so if the young people who are voting today make a decision and say, we want one Kenya, we will go into this process, and regardless of the monies that you bribe us with, regardless of the rhetoric that you throw at us, we will make decisions with our conscience. This election can produce very shocking results.
But Sheikh, what will it take to achieve that? Because there are many people are saying the youth, first of all, don't exist as a voting bloc, and as you spread your bed, so must you lie on it. Even right now, the race is almost defined into two. Not that they are new characters. People already know who they are, but people still decide based on other issues. What will it take for them to see that this is a unifying factor, this is what we need to push?
Even as Nelson was talking about the youth, one thing that I'm grappling with out there is even convincing the youth to vote. There is voter apathy amongst the youth. And their argument is, we've been voting, but we haven't seen the effects of our voting. So whether we vote or not, there is no change. So we need also to address that issue of voter apathy and the reasons behind it. What are the underlying reasons of why many youth actually, those I interact with, some of them are my students, some of them come to the mosque. They tell me, I won't bother to vote, wake up at 5 in the morning to go and queue, and at the end of the day, I do not see the outcome of my voting. So we need to address voter apathy. And we need to begin with those people who give promises that, Trevor, you can tell that these are white lies, they will not be fulfilled. Because by giving promises, you are raising the expectation, and especially of our future generation, the young people, the below 35 that we are talking about. Then, of course, they watch, Trevor. We've given you the votes. You promised all these things. We're waiting to see whether we are going to get what you promised. If I do not get what you've been promising me, next time I'll not see any reason for me to vote. So we need to talk about voter apathy, and particularly the religious leaders, because there are so many people who come to our places of worship. We need to address that. We need also to talk to these politicians. They are Kenyans. And you know, one thing I wonder, sometimes you would forgive a person who comes to this country, especially during this electioneering time, and it's like the country has been taken hostage by politicians. They are the ones who decide the future of the country. I think we need to use the spaces that we have. Like religious leaders, we have that very powerful platform. We use it to tell people, look here, even the politicians, because they go to his church, they come to my mosque, tell them, look here, for me, I'll tell them, fear God. The promises that you give, you have to keep your promises, because it is ungodly, regardless of what religion you follow, Trevor, to give promises and you don't keep those promises. Some of them, outrightly, I'm not able to do this, but you package the narratives in such a way you hoodwink the people. So we talk to the politicians. Again, tell them, your utterances, your word of mouth can make or break this country. So we need to keep on talking. For the next 75 days, we should keep this. We should keep talking to one another. Use every available space to remind people that, again, Trevor, nobody elects themselves. At the end of the day, we Kenyans hold the power. Look at our constitution. The powers that we hold the power. It's the citizens of this country that have the powers. We can decide who we want with the vote. Unfortunately, most of us vote, our voting is determined by other than the integrity of the person we are voting for. First of all, it is my ethnicity. Kwa Kiswahili wanasema damu nzito kuliko maji. It doesn't matter how that person is, but my mtu wangu. We need to desist from that. Let us look at the credibility of the person. Is this person suitable to run this country or not? Then 3, we should decide that those people, and we have a beautiful constitution, Trevor. Yeah. If you look at chapter 6, about leadership and integrity, it's so beautiful, but to a large extent, it has just remained that ink on paper and implemented. I think this is the high time we need to talk about that. Yeah. And it doesn't matter. I like what my colleague here said. Some of the decisions about the leaders who have been given tickets, they've been done in boardrooms. It's not the people who have decided democratically, we want so and so to take this position. But even those who are running independently, I know it is difficult, but we can make it easy. It is we who hold the votes. It is not the leaders of the political parties who hold the votes. We can decide this is a credible leader. It doesn't matter whether this person is vying as an independent candidate or not. Huyu ndio tunamtaka because he's credible. And we can make that change, believe me.
All right, I'll come to you, Dr. Makane, in just a bit. Let's cross over to the Safari Park where Brenda Wanga is standing by with the latest. Brenda, good morning. It's good to see you. So I know that National Prayer Breakfast is about to begin there. So how is the place looking like? Who have you seen? And what is the main conversation this morning?
Well, thank you, Trevor. We are indeed at the Safari Park Hotel, where this year's National Annual Breakfast Prayer Meeting is just about to get underway. Visitors, the invited guests, have already started arriving. They started arriving here from as early as 6 a.m. You will recall that this is the first prayer day to be held after the COVID-19 pandemic. The last one that was held last year at Parliament with very limited number of people attending because, of course, at the time, the existing COVID protocols. But today, open air setting, a huge tent set just behind me, people coming in their numbers. I've seen quite a number of members of Parliament, members of the civil society, ordinary Kenyans who have secured that invitation to this prayer meeting. This will be the 19th one, Trevor, the 19th one of the National Annual Prayer Breakfast. This event organized by Parliament, just bringing together arms of government to, in a moment of prayer, just to try and find out what they can do together to ensure that this country moves forward together in unity. Today we have been told that this event, though organized by Parliament, has been ceded to the religious leaders, to the clergy. They will be handling this just in a bid to ensure that whatever discussions will be happening here will be sober discussions. Normally when this happens, politicians use this occasion to throw jibes at each other in a light-hearted manner, but most of the times very loaded statements. So today we have been told, Trevor, that the people who will be taking center stage here will be the clergy. We expect speeches, the keynote speeches from, amongst others, Archbishop Jackson Olesapit of the Anglican Church, Bishop David Oginde of Sitam, Archbishop Anthony Muheria of Nyeri, and Sheikh Abdallah, amongst others, who will be issuing the keynote address. It is also important to note, Trevor, that normally events like this one, there's usually an invited speaker, normally from outside the country, but this time round, this will be held and will be guided by the clergy in the country, just as a way of trying to tone down the political temperatures that have been rising as the country moves towards the general election that will be held in August. Just about 74 days to go to that August poll. Campaigns have been heating up, words have been thrown around. There has been a bit of tension between different arms of government. So the decision to have the clergy lead this event today, perhaps just one of the subtle ways that they want to ensure that sanity prevails as the country moves towards the August elections. The theme of this prayer day has been aptly placed as transition, and we hope that the messages that will be passed here will largely be heavy on that, how Kenya will be transitioning from one administration to the other, with the key message being peace. Trevor, So we are here waiting for the arrival of the invited guests, including the president, his deputy, and Raila Odinga, who have been on the campaign trail. We hope that perhaps they will be taking a few moments off to just join the rest of the Kenyans at this important event. So we'll be here waiting for them to arrive and bringing you this coverage as it happens. Trevor.
Brenda, that's Brenda Wanga speaking to us from Safari Park, where the National Prayer Breakfast is happening this morning. We'll cross over to her and find out from the people around there what the expectations are and as well as what the program is looking like. Thanks, Brenda. We'll speak to you in just a bit. Dr. Makanda, we were talking about this issue of unity of purpose. Where will this change come from? And how can you achieve unity of purpose when we already know what the problems are? Everybody knows what the problems are. It's the solutions that nobody seems to agree on.
Unity of purpose is extremely important for a country like ours and a time like this. I think we need institutions to coalesce together because institutions represent some level of sovereignty and independence. If we agree on the cardinal principles, that these are the values that we would like to pursue, we do not have to be identical in our expressions, but we know the values that we are pursuing. Yeah. If those institutions uphold those values, the judiciary, right now we have IBC, we have the executive involved in the processes of election. If the cardinal values are held together and sacrosanct, then we find a common ground, something that brings us together. We begin to minimize our ethnic identities, our religious identities, because we have one thing that brings us together. But what is happening is that then the politicians, if they take that approach, they allow us latitude to be objective. And so they push the primordial identities, religious identities, they push ethnic identities, they want to create social structure, if it's socio-economic structure, so that then people don't move in the same direction for their own advantage. And so perhaps to counter that is to say civic education. Yeah. For those of us who have responsibility, I mean media, you have a lot of latitude and space. Trevor, you have more than 30,000 followers. If you used that space to be able to push an agenda of unity of purpose, I mean, your followers, and if we picked your colleagues just in this media house alone, you have thousands, hundreds of thousands of followers. I mean, in between us here, the Evangelical Alliance of Kenya, which I lead, and David Oginda as our chairman, we have more than 12 million followers. If we used our platform, 70,000 congregations across the country, using those platforms to be able to say, look here, Kenya is one. Kenya is our motherland. Yeah. If Kenya is destroyed because we are divided, we all suffer. Yeah. But if we pursue an agenda that brings Kenya together, and we can be able to use these platforms for civic education. Yeah. So it is possible to arrive at a unity of purpose, just to say, let's bring our concerted efforts together and go for it. Okay. It can happen.
You've raised very interesting points on institutions, but let's start with, say, for example, the church or the clergy. And Sheikh, have the clergy played the effective role when it comes to guiding the flock, especially on matters that impact on their lives, like the political season that we are in right now?
Yeah. Okay, as an insider and as one of them, I'll tell you for sure we are doing, but not as much as we should do. Because we need to do more considering the situation we are in. And one thing I keep on telling the clergy within my religious circles is this. I think, first of all, we need to realize, appreciate the power that we hold, the power of religion, Trevor. Yeah. I compare it to the strength that a buffalo has but doesn't know that power, and that's why it is sometimes devoured by a lion, which is less, it's not as strong as it is. Yeah. If only the buffalo would realize the strength it has. We need, number one, to remember that we hold a very powerful, we control a very powerful space. And then use that space. Unfortunately, you know, most of us use it for what? And I'm speaking for myself here. Yeah. Preparing people to go to heaven. And I tell my colleagues in the Muslim circles, when I look at the religious teachings, Trevor, it's not about just preparing people to go to a better place when they die. God wants us to live in a good place in this world. God gave us this country.
Yeah.
And we are not Kenyans by accident, Trevor. It is God's divine plan that we live in Kenya. And the space is enough for all of us. And we need to leave this place a better place for the future generation. So can I use my platform in the mosque to preach how we can make this world better? And believe me, the religious teachings are full of this kind of provisions that we should learn to love one another, respect one another. Even the way you use the blessings of speech, we should use it because we are accountable for every word and every deed that we do. So there is a lot that we need to do as religious leaders, and especially now this season, we need to rise to the occasion and spend the next 75 days preaching unity of purpose, which is clearly provided for in our preamble, that we are proud of our diversity, ethnic, religious, and everything. It's there. It's God's plan that we are diverse and makes the world beautiful. So we need to keep on preaching that, and we should not stop that. And not just in a view of God will bless you. No. God will bless this country, and this country will be a better place. You know, this idea, nitaenda mahali pazuri nikikufa if I'm good. No, if you're good, show it by the way you interact with people. Show it by the way you speak the moment you get a microphone and there are a crowd of people. How do you use it? Show your godliness by the kind of promises you give to the people and how you respond when somebody insults you. But when you use that microphone in a wrong way, and then you tell me, I am a very prayerful person, I'm a very good Muslim or a good Christian, let me see your Islam and your Christianity in your word of mouth and your action.
And Dr. Makanda, do you think the clergy have played an effective role when it comes to offering leadership to the congregation?
I think the answer will be on a continuum. There are some, yes, who have done, but there are some who have not. And for those who have not, it's because the clergy in this country are extremely diverse. Trevor, if you know where you come from, there are clergy in your village who are not as exposed as a sheikh here and myself. And so the level at which they play and they do their work, they may lack the capacity to be able to play their role as we desire. And so we have taken up a responsibility to, first of all, do civic education within the houses of clergy, so that then we build up the capacity of our clergy to be able to engage in matters building the nation, so that then they don't stick on the primary things that they have been called to do, which is speak about heaven, as my brother is talking about, without knowing that we are going to heaven through the earth. We are going to heaven through here, so that then people must make their life good here. They must, and you cannot make it good if you are not in a proper relationship with your neighbor, if you are not having bread on the table, if your children are not going to school. And so trying to help them see how relevant engagement is important. But then on the other continuum is to say, yes, Sheikh has already told you here, he's engaging his colleagues, he's engaging people in the mosque. I mean, the Evangelical Alliance of Kenya, we have taken a responsibility. We run a program, a 1-hour program every week on media to be able to tell Christians across the country, these are the things that you must pursue. We recently invited presidential candidates to come to us at the Nairobi Baptist, and we had 3 respond. Others did not respond to our invite, and we had to engage them. And you have clips and bites of that engagement. We had David Maure coming, we had Ruben Kigame coming, we had the Deputy President coming, the Prime Minister has said he will come. We want to provide an opportunity where our members are able to speak, so that then we don't hear politicians from the crowds. We want to hear them when they are seated like this, and ask them questions that they have premeditated on. And so we provide an aid memoir to them and tell them, we'd like you to speak on these things. And we will not allow you to speak free, but we will guide the discussion, the conversation, so that then they are able to tell us what is it that they stand for. Ask them difficult questions and just engage them, so that then the religious community is not seen to be biased, is not seen to be abrogating their duty, but holding their duty sacrosanct. And we want to do that. And we would like to use all our platforms, the Interreligious Council platform, the Dialogue Reference Group at which we sit. We would like to use all the platforms available to do our bit. That does not mean that there will not be a black sheep within us, but we will do our bit.
And therein lies my main concern, because yes, you're right, we had the Deputy President speaking to the clergy. Why, and he also challenged you and said, why don't you take a stand and say this is a person we are going with? I mean, Raphael Ndingi, Mwana and Zeki, those are people who took a stand during multi-party democracy and they said this is the direction. Why can't the clergy do the same?
No, again, Trevor, I think we need to be very realistic. I have 10,000 people at Jamia Mosque. Those people, they have their own political leanings. For me, actually, the stand that we have taken is this. We need to guide our congregations on look at the qualities of the kind of leadership that we want. But me using that platform, telling my people, we've decided we are going to support this or that political leader, I think it's something that we ourselves have decided, no, we cannot do that. But what we are preaching in the mosque is, number one, peace. We want peaceful elections. Look for qualities of leadership beyond just this person being from your ethnicity or your political party. Don't be blinded by those things. So I think it will be very wrong and unfair, because what happens to that worshipper in my mosque who does not have the advantage of that platform that I have? So we think that will not be right. And I like the approach we have taken at the Interreligious Council, where both of us are very active under Father Joseph Motie. I think we cannot do that, Trevor. It is not right. And the politics of the days of the late Ndingi Mwananzek and today's politics are very different. Things have changed since then. So I think for me, it is not right for us to say we support this person or this other person. Quietly, Trevor, I know the person I'm supporting, but I will not use the platform that I have and tell my people you should support this person.
Okay.
No.
Dr. Makanda, why is it so difficult? When during your engagement with the Deputy President, he asked you this question directly.
Because we have had no reason to make that type of a decision. Because, I mean, the church has no candidate in these elections. The Muslims have no candidate in these elections. And the candidates who are standing, they are all the same. They are all the same, from left to right. You look at them, they are all the same. They are all Kenyans. The religious community can only take a decision if there's a candidate who goes against what we value as sacrosanct.
Yes.
If there is a candidate who is anti-God, who is anti the cardinal values and principles that we uphold about life, about dignity of man and people, about the critical things that the religious community value, that uphold society. If there stands a candidate like that, I will go against him. We will speak against him. Exactly. But for the candidates that are there, what we see is they are all the same in the sense that you see a sense of their fallenness. And for me as clergy is to apply grace, because I apply grace to you, Ombinja, as a journalist, to a doctor, to a teacher, who fail in their walk. I mean, on the road, they are held by a policeman, and they struggle. Sometimes they shout at a policeman, and they come to the mosque or to the church, and we rebuke them, and we tell them, please, toe the line. It does not please God. We do the same with our politicians. Even though they may, in the public space, we may be feeling that they are very much tainted, we desire that through our preachings and our teachings, that they can be converted and toe the right line. And so, within the crop of politicians that are there, we have none that has offended the faith community to say, you are not the right one. And we have none who really represents the image of the faith community to say, this is the particular one. But as my colleague has said here, this is a democratic space. And within our churches, within our mosques, we have members of all political parties. David Mwaure has followers in my congregation. Honorable Raila Odinga has followers in my congregation. William Ruto has followers in the same congregation. And so rather than divide them, tell them what to look for. Yeah, exactly. Tell them what to look for in a leader. All right. And let them go and exercise their democratic right. Yeah.
Okay, speaking of what to look for in a leader, Archbishop Anthony Muheria from the Archdiocese of Nyeri, during the state funeral of the late President Mwai Kibaki, said something very interesting. Let's listen to what he said.
we need a special sanitizer to disinfect our toxic mouths. Not our hands, but our mouths. COVID is on its way out, but there is a new mouth COVID. Sanitize our mouths, our hands also. COVID is not yet gone, but more our mouths. Let's get the toothpaste sanitizer.
How much of it have we applied? This is a special sanitizer Archbishop is talking about, or is it getting even worse as the days draw closer to the elections?
Trevor, what the Archbishop has said is very important. Actually, listening to him, I thought he has picked from our teachings as Muslims.
Yeah.
One of the cardinal teachings of Islam is this: whoever fears God and fears that on the day of judgment you'll stand before God, say what is good or shut up. Mm-hmm. That is the sanitizer he's talking about. Look at our politics. Look at some of even the violence that have bedeviled this country in the past. The underlying root causes word of mouth, what we say about one another. And during politics, you wonder in which college do these people go and get the training, and they want to outdo one another in shouting matches and insulting one another.
Yeah.
Okay? We have heard politicians talking, "Hii pesa si ya mama yako," and we know them. And our children are watching this. Yeah. What kind of role models are these? We've heard people say, "Mkinichagua, watu fulani hawatakaa hapa." What are you telling the electorate? What are you telling the people? So I want to agree. Actually, we need to agree as Kenyans, any politicians, and I want to begin with the media. Sometimes, you know, I don't know why you don't decide to give blackout to people who do not use the microphones well, who need sanitizers. Now, they know, because they love that publicity. It is you people who give them the publicity.
Because like the clergy, we don't choose. Yeah. Give an equal opportunity for people who work and fail in their parts.
Yes. Okay, you don't choose. No. But suppose the information that you're going to relay out there is going to divide this country. You just give that guy a blackout. Next time they know that royal media is not going to cover me if I speak nonsense there, if I insult people there. I think we need to train people here, because I interact a lot with Christian clergy, and I know it is unchristian for you to speak badly about other people. It is against the teachings of Islam. So you wonder, these people, when they're on the platform, do they suspend their Christianity for the moment? Okay. Do they suspend their Islam for the moment? Because actually, even the wars that have ever been fought in this world, if you look at them, it's because of word of mouth. Yeah. So can we use our mouths properly? Okay. The power of the word of mouth. Trevor, the lady who agreed to say, "Yes, I do," to you, you didn't use a gun. You used word of mouth. Amasivyo, the same thing to him. So the power of the word of the mouth, it can do or break. That's why you won her heart.
Trevor, do you have one? We haven't played for you yet.
That's a whole new conversation. Let's cross over to the Safari Park where Brenda Wanga is standing by. That's where the National Prayer Breakfast is happening right now as we speak. Brenda, over to you.
Thank you, Trevor. Indeed, in just a few minutes, we expect the president to be arriving here, signaling the start of this event. But before that, we speak to the co-convener of this event, Dan Maanzo. If you may, please just come closer here. Today is a very important day as Kenyans march closer to the general election. Why did you decide to have this event handled by the members of the clergy?
Yes, ordinarily the event is handled by Parliament, and it is a day we dedicate our nation as a leadership from judiciary, the executive and Parliament to the Lord, so that our nation belongs to the Lord, and we submit ourselves to God the Almighty. This event particularly with the elections near, is a time when we are transiting, and the theme today is transition. So we have said the clergy will come and preside, and are the ones who are going to give the word, and keep to the theme of transition, how we can transit as a nation from one government to the next. So this is the theme of this year, and that's how we arrived at the guest speakers coming locally. Ordinarily, we share internationally. We have a lot of guests from all over the country, from all over the world. We are from Congo, Uganda, Canada, Germany, all national prayer breakfasts of different countries. And the leading one is the United States of America, who are also here. Yes, so it's an event which we really look forward to be joined by many other Kenyans to follow, on television, those who can't make it here. Due to Corona, we have reduced the number of guests. Ordinarily, guests are usually 3,000 or so. This time we are only doing 2,000 guests, mainly from the national prayer groups. There are a number of national prayer groups in the country who help organize for this event throughout the year. So we have invited them, and they have come with their friends, and we believe we will fellowship together and dedicate the nation to the Lord, which we do once a year, the last Thursday of May. Yes.
Oh, okay. Indeed, we've spoken to a few of the clergy who will be giving the keynote speech here, and they say that at the end of the day, they want to have the Kenyans who are watching and attending leave here with a message of peace. Is this something that you share?
Yes, we share. You know, we are going to elections which are likely to be very competitive. But we want, after elections, Kenyans to be peaceful, to remain peaceful, and that can only be achieved when God leads us into that. So we look forward.
Thank you very much, Bwana Manzo, for speaking to us. Trevor, indeed, arrivals, many of the people, many of the guests already arriving. You've already seen Archbishop Anthony Muheria here. We've seen Bishop David Ogindef of Sitam also arriving here. We have been informed that the president should be arriving here any minute. A number of cabinet secretaries have already arrived. So this ceremony, this prayer day, should be getting underway any minute now. As soon as the president arrives, we have been told that it should be starting at around 7:30. But again, that is subject to the arrival of the chief guest. Like the co-convener of this meeting says, the theme this year is simply transition, and how the members of the clergy, the members of the civil society, the lawmakers, or basically all sectors of society in Kenya can come together and work together towards a peaceful transition after the August elections, where Kenya will be ushering in a new administration. Trevor?
Thanks, Brenda. Brenda Wanga there speaking to us from the venue of the National Prayer Breakfast. The 19th of it, the Deputy President, we've been informed, has suspended his campaigns in Mombasa and is headed to Safari Park there, where there is a meeting going on this morning. And Sheikh, I know you have another engagement, so I'll allow you to make your closing remarks before you take a quick break, and then bring in also Archbishop Winnie Owiti from VOSH, which is the Voice of Salvation and Healing Church International from Kisumu, to continue with this conversation. Sheikh, your closing remarks on this. Yeah.
It's great to see that we remember God, that God has a great role in our lives, and it's important for us to pray. You know, for me, prayer tells me that we appreciate that there are things that are beyond us, and we have a God that gave us this country and created us, and everything is in the hands of God. But beyond that, we need to do a lot. Are we praying from our hearts or from our mouths? Is it just a PR exercise? So my message today is this: let us keep on praying, because we need God. Okay. But can we pray sincerely? We need to pray sincerely. And I do hope, I can see those are very people of integrity, clergy of integrity that have been chosen to speak. And I'm happy to hear what Brenda is telling us, that the clergy are in charge of this. So we are not going to hear political statements from there. We are going to hear words of wisdom from these men of God. Okay. My prayer is this: whatever they say, can it be put into action? Let it not just end up there as a PR exercise. Let us not mock God. Let us not play around with God. Whatever we say before God and pray, can it be from our hearts? And can we follow it up with action? And then, let me remind the politicians in this country. The teaching of my religion is this: if, Trevor, you are the cause of bloodshed or destruction of property, you are answerable before God. And that responsibility could come as through maybe a word that you have spoken that could trigger violence, or something that you do that could trigger violence. My advice to them is this: fear God, your creator. You'll be answerable for every word you utter.
Okay.
Yeah. Make sure that anything you say will be to bring Kenyans together. It is God's wisdom. God, in his wisdom, decided that we are people of diversity.
Okay.
Even when it comes to religion. I read the Quran, and tells us, had God so willed, all of us would have followed one religion, one faith. But it is within God's domain that we follow different religions, and God knows who is following the right religion. Had God so willed, Trevor, all of us would be Chinese. All of us would be Luos or Kikuyus or Masais. But God decided to have this diversity. Can we respect that because it is godly? Even in our politics. So that is my message for today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for making time. Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome, the religious scholar, he has to leave. We're taking a quick break here on Daybreak. When we come back, we're still continuing this conversation on the National Prayer Breakfast. Brenda Wanga is live at the Safari Park where it's all happening. Also, Archbishop Winnie Owiti from Vosh Church International will be joining us in just a bit from Kisumu. Dr. Nelson Makanda, General Secretary of Evangelical Alliance of Kenya, is still with us here in studio. I see a lot of your feedback coming through. When we come back, we'll read some of them as well. But let's take a quick break here on Daybreak. See you in a bit.